Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, set in a city-state dominated by licentiousness, depicts the unfortunate situation of Claudio's arrest and forthcoming death, to emphasize that strict laws need to be conducted with leniency. The necessity for Lord Angelo to be appointed to replace the merciful Duke Vincentio as interim leader affirms the importance of justice in the state of Vienna. Through Angelo's tyrannical approach to the severe profligacy, coupled with his own inner temptations, Shakespeare presents a leader who validates justice at the expense of humanity. By ignoring his humanity, Angelo fails to show tolerance to the citizens of Vienna, while in contrast, the Duke is able to acknowledge his own flaws and therefore the humanity of Vienna. Initially, Shakespeare promotes the idea that in order for the corrupt and lecherous citizens of Vienna to be redeemed, existing laws long neglected ought to be enforced. Spurred by the imbalance between the punitive justice and the overwhelming lenient mercy of Duke Vincentio, the laws have become more mocked than feared, exposing the need to be tempered with the execution of proactive justice. The Duke, with the support of the wise Aeschylus, seeks stronger respect for the laws from the people. Yet after the Duke's serious reflection about the humanity's fallen nature in Vienna, 'twas his fault, he bestows power on Angelo in an attempt to apply precise justice, promoting a further imbalance by favouring one at the expense of another. Despite Angelo's ploy to cleanse Vienna of their sordid tendencies, proclaiming all houses in suburbs in Vienna must be plucked down, Shakespeare infers that all humans are flawed and that no form of justice or legislation can eradicate licentiousness in the sensuous behaviour in Vienna or in any city. Lord Angelo conveys a sense of being a kinder character in thy life, originally perceived as a virtuous and prudent man who practices morality and mercy. However, Angelo becomes merciless and allows power change purpose. Swayed by his new sense of absolutism, he immediately imprisons Signor Claudio for getting Madame Giulietta with child, suggesting that Angelo is incapable of showing mercy to those who fall by fault. As the play continues to expose Angelo's ruthless view of justice, the rest of his character becomes fixated on the idea of not making a scarecrow of the law, emphasizing that unless malevolent justice is valued, the law just used is as a purge. Coupled with his own inner temptations, Angelo can no longer be trusted with enforcing mercy and justice within the city of Vienna, as he refuses to show leniency and condemns for a fault alone. In contrast, Aeschylus, a man who is of common justice ye are as pregnant in, remains unfazed by power and attempts to moderate Angelo's judgments. This contrast between Aeschylus and Angelo is used by Shakespeare to illustrate that power has the ability to change purpose, but one must not let his ambition, power, and temptation take hold. To be vigilant against temptation when in power is not merely a moral obligation, according to Aeschylus, but a role of a leader who is expected to show morality and mercy in Vienna. The characteristics can be exemplified through the minor characters. Shakespeare shows through some of his minor characters that the law can be tempered with mercy. Barnardine, the murderer, is saved from the execution by the Duke, who refers to the care of the friar. For earthly faults I quit them all. Pompey, an admitted bawd, escapes punishment by being enlisted as an assistant executioner, and gratefully accepts his role. On the other hand, Lucio is the only character to be that justice is enforced upon for his actions, slandering the Duke and failing to support his child born to the prostitute Kate Keepdown. The humiliation of the marriage to a punk is shown to be fitting enough and effective. Further, we also observe Shakespeare's use of Isabella, a sister of the votroses of St. Clair, as a way to demonstrate the need to balance punitive justice with the administration of mercy. Isabella illustrates that the concept that there is a need to all have access to justice, but a fascination with the divine beauty of mercy in acknowledging not the king's crown, nor the deputed sword, nor the judge's robe become them with one half a good grace as mercy does. Initially, she grapples with the concept of how justice and mercy should be appointed as vice that most I do abhor and most desire should meet the blow of justice at war, twist and will not. Yet we see the virtuous Isabella demonstrate the need for mercy to her brother in a sin so despicable. I do think you might pardon him, and neither heaven nor man grieve at the mercy. Affirming a bias for benevolence is the absolute pardon upon the true leadership is formed, and tempting to abandon Angelo's unyielding devotion to his barbarous decree by appealing to his brash and promiscuous instincts. Previously a disciplined and self-restrained individual, the extent of Angelo's corruption is embodied as sinful lust towards Isabella, and by dueling those things that make her good with his lust, his pernicious purpose is grounded in a craving to raise the sanctuary of her innocence and chastity, signalizing his own surrender to the same offense for which he was willing to execute at Claudio. By imploring Isabella to give him love, Angelo displays his prejudiced hypocrisy, revealing that his outward sainted veneer believes a stony marble interior, symbolizing the cold callousness of a despotic regime unsoftened by pity and grace.